We've already touched upon cloning assets and campaigns in Marketo. However, in this section, we're going to go into it in a lot more detail. Let's start with cloning assets. Firstly, we're going to clone an email in the Design Studio. So let's go to Design Studio, find your first email, right-click, and clone it. Now what you'll notice is firstly it will try to put it in the same directory as this current email is from, which is what we want, so we'll leave that. And let's call it my cloned email and then add your name. And then we're going to untick open in editor and click clone. So that's how to clone an email in the Design Studio. So let's remove this email now, right click and delete it. And we're going to do the same, but this time we're going to clone the email into a program. So let's go to Fab and create a new program called My First Program Fab. Now you may already have this program, but in case you don't, let's try to create it again and see what happens. So what you'll notice is it won't let me create it with the same name. So that's good. So we can't create campaigns with the same name. So since it's already there, we're now going to go back to Design Studio, going to find our first email, and we're going to clone it into that particular program. So let's right click, clone, and then firstly we need to switch this from Design Studio to Marketing Activities. Then in the program, we need to find our particular program. So My First Program and your name. And then we'll call it exactly the same thing, My First Email Fab, and we'll untick the open in editor. And then we'll click clone. So you'll notice that it's taken me into Marketing Activities and it already has the email selected. And if we click the plus button here, we'll see My First Email Fab. Great. What you'll also notice that it's automatically taken the template across. So the template that we used is being linked to this. And that's how to clone an email. The process is exactly the same for a landing page or any other asset. Now let's clone a campaign. Campaigns are slightly different in terms of cloning from assets. Firstly, campaigns can be cloned into folders. So if I go to my folder, right click, let's create a new campaign folder, call it My Campaign Folder, and then add your name. We're going to clone a program into this particular folder. So just find any of the campaigns that you've created previously, right click on it, select clone, and now we're going to select folders instead of programs here. And then in folders, we're going to find My Campaign Folder, Fab, this one here, and then we'll call it exactly the same thing. And click clone. So as you can see, this campaign has been cloned into this folder. Campaigns can exist outside of programs, unlike emails and other assets. Now let's do exactly the same thing, but we're going to clone it back into the same programs. Right click, clone it, we'll give it exactly the same name, which will cause up an error just to see what happens. And you'll see that gives us a warning. So let's change that to My First Trigger Program 2 and then click clone. And there you go. So now what you'll notice is when I clone a program, firstly, it's not active. So that's why the light's off. We'll need to activate that if we need it live. And also it will clear all the results as well as any members that have passed through it. So any history will be cleared. This is a good way to refresh a campaign if you are doing some testing. But if you are testing, it's better to clone the entire program rather than individual campaigns.